All right, welcome back. Here we are, post-production. On the first video, we shot a bit now. Today, we're going to do some color calibration, some white balance calibration, and work on some of these images. So let's take a look at our intro, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to my office. This is where I do most of my printing and editing post-production. Actually, it's not true, but it'll be nice. I hope it's not too noisy. There's some construction not too far away from here, but I hope having a different type of background would be nice. Since the first one we had beautiful scenes, beautiful backgrounds. All right, so first step, post-production is monitor calibration, which is key. I use a Calibrite 123. It's like a lens, like a camera, and what it does is it creates a profile for my monitor. This is key because especially with exposure, when we are fixing errors in exposure on your computer, if your computer is too bright, if the monitor is too bright, this will solve that. Also, your colors, you don't want to do any type of saturation or exposure, contrast. You don't want to do any of that before calibrating your monitor. So this is step one, guys. All right, step two, which we're going to cover in this video, is creating profiles using the Calibrite ColorChecker. I'm not being paid for this. I paid for these with my own money. They are excellent products. I believe that they are just as important as your camera or your printer because it makes your workflow more precise, makes your life easier. And in today's video, we're going to look at how, for example, if you're shooting a whole afternoon with the same light conditions, you create one profile and you apply it to all of your images. That means your skin tones are going to match, your colors are going to match, your white balance is going to match. That is the absolutely most consistent way to create a professional series of images. A very common mistake that amateurs and professionals like is that they don't create consistency from one image to the other, and one can tell even two prints one next to the other where the exposure or maybe the colors are off. By following this process, which just takes a couple of minutes, especially creating your camera calibration, this takes you less than a minute to create. Just to take a shot of your passport calibration card, and you're done. One, very well. So we already did the camera calibration. Before we start, before making any changes, let me close this, to the images in terms of exposure, color correction, creating profiles, you have to calibrate your monitor. I'm using the Calibrite 123. It's one of their budget display profiles or calibrators. I really like it because I don't need more. Personally, with this, it already gives me a very good profile for me to start with, to start editing, to start looking at exposure. So let's go ahead. I already have my lens. This is basically a lens. This is the software for this. I'm going to click on next. and it tells me to tilt. It's already tilted a little bit. The first thing it's going to do is going to ask me to adjust my brightness of my monitor. Right now my monitor is already at the right brightness. Excellent. So I go ahead and click next, and it starts measuring. Right here on the bottom are all the different colors that's going to go through. So it started calibrating already. So let me just pause this, and we'll be right back when it's fully calibrated. Very well. All right, so it finished creating the profile. And move this out of the way. It gives me a profile for today's measurement, and it also asks me to send me a reminder by email so that I can readjust in a couple of weeks or so. All right, I'm going to just put here 2 weeks. All right, save profile. Let's schedule a reminder. What's going on? Okay, I'm going to put here. All right, there we go. Very well. So again, do not trust that little screen on the back of your camera. It's a JPEG, compressed, oversaturated, and probably oversharpened too. Showing me the before and after. All right. I can't even tell the difference right now. I keep my monitor calibrated every couple of weeks, so there isn't going to be anything major here. All right, so done. Very well. Calibrated. So it's all about profiles, guys. It's starting from the calibration. You create a profile. Monitor calibration, you create a profile. When you go to print, it's the same thing. You have a paper profile. At the end of the day, when do you need to start really processing the image is at your final median. If your final median is a print, that's when you have to start looking at your print and see if that's what you wanted. If that's what that's absolutely the point where it's the final evaluation. It's when you say yes or no. We'll go into that later. Very well. So we have our monitor calibrated. Let's start editing. Right here, I have my color checker image right there. I don't know if you can see on your screen, but it has this bluish tone to it. That's very common at Bernal. The blue skies. I don't know exactly why, but it's very, very intense. Well, anyways, this is my image. So what I'm going to do first is that I'm going to create a profile. Let me just get the information. Okay, it's the first file. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Photoshop. I'm going to go into my images. It's this one right here. And I'm going to open that image in Camera Raw. What I need to do is I need to create a DNG file. Let's see if it works. All right, so usually what I do is I crop. I'm going to crop a little bit of this, not all of it, because I do want to be able to see the skin tones, which will help me adjust for be able to see my white balance. All right, so let me crop this. And then on the image, I'm going to right click and I'm going to save it as a DNG. It's a digital negative. All right, there we go. It's saved. I can cancel. Yes, I can close Photoshop. I can lower this. Okay, so let me open my software for camera calibration. ColorChecker camera calibration. All right, so let me get my images. There we go. That's my DNG. Oh, it's trying to open Photoshop. I double clicked it. That's okay. I'll just go ahead and do this. Yeah, we have to be careful that we don't double click. All right, there we go. That's what I need. Let me close this Photoshop. All right, let me go back. All right. And now I create my profile. You can see that it auto aligns into the squares right here. This part right here is what we're going to use for white balance. In a minute, I'll show you how to do it. So I'm going to create the profile and I'll be right back. Okay, hang on a second. I gotta do this. See, these are all the profiles that I have done over the past few months. So I like to have Nikon Z, and I'm going to call it Vernal 2 Daylight. All right, because that's the conditions that I used. Save, and it starts to create. Very well. All right, so it has created the profile. I can go ahead and close this and go back to Lightroom. I like to use Lightroom because it allows me to, without making changes to the original raw file, it's not destructive. I can fix several images at the same time. I can do several adjustments. All right, so there we go. That's my image right there. That's the one that I use for my calibration. So I'm going to develop, and right here in basic, I should have my profile. Let's see. There we go. Vernal Daylight. So take a look at this. Just by going over it, I can already see a difference in the colors. Wow. Pretty intense. Let's take a look at before and after. Ah, yes, definitely. It neutralized a lot of these tones. And look at the sky right here and the yellows. Yeah, it was just, it looked oversaturated over here. All right, so what I'm going to do now, okay, so this is the calibrated image. And right here, there's two panels right here in the color checker. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yes, one is for white balance for skin tones and white balance for landscapes. What we're going to do is, let me just zoom out a little bit. This is just a little bit too much. Well, I think it'll be fine. Let's see. I'm going to correct the white balance, but yeah, let me zoom out a little bit so we can look at the skin tones at the same time. All right, so I take the color picker for my white balance, and if I click here, I can go from, wow, that's 5,750. Okay, very intense. Let's look at something a little bit less. Ooh, no way. Look at the difference between one and the next. From 7,000, that's too much, to 6,600, 6,400, 6,100. It's a little bit intense, but it's not too bad. This is probably more of a more realistic right here. 5,750. Let me see this one. I do prefer this one right here. Let's go with this one. I can always readjust it later. All right, so let's take a look at before and after. Yes, what a difference. Now, guys, this is what I was telling you guys about sharpness. Color calibration improves sharpness. You can see that there is some loss of information. It seems like there's a color cast on top right here on her face, and it's gone over here. Even looks like there was an exposure adjustment, which I didn't make any exposure adjustments at all. But definitely, there's more information here to work with. All right, so once I do this, all right, so right here I have color calibration and white balance calibration. What I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to go ahead and set this. Let's go ahead and set this as my reference photo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select everything. I don't mind selecting everything because later I know that I created different profiles during this photo shoot. I can go ahead and select just those images and apply that specific profile. But it's easier for the most important profile, which is daylight. I can cover all this. So what I do is I select all my images. So once I synchronize them, all of my images have the same profile. If I click right here, and I go into basic, there it is. All the images have the same profile. And that's what I love about Lightroom. You can make changes to several images. You can make changes in terms of profiles. So all these images have the same profile, which is excellent. It's a starting point. It's a starting point where you get the best out of image calibration. You get the best file possible, and it allows you to get a starting point that gives you the best colors. And also we talked about perceived sharpness with color contrast. It's just the best tool there is for consistency. As a professional photographer, you have to think about consistency all the time. It has to be part of your workflow, and it shows professionalism when you have a set of images that match in terms of your white balance, your colors, your exposures. If your images are being sold as a series, especially then, it's critical to maintain that consistency. Very well. Now, I'm going to show you another example of how I set a profile. I shot some other images in a different light condition inside a restaurant, and I would like to show you guys how I did that, so you get to see how different profiles affect the images differently. Okay, so let me just show you some before and after image calibration using the profile we just created. So let me go ahead and click on Y on my keyboard so we can look at some of the differences. Wow, what a difference. Look how blue it looks right here, and then on this side it has a little bit of a warmer color. Look at the fruit itself on top of that drink. What a difference. What a difference. Let's go to the next image. Look how the colors just popped. This was hanging off a tree. I mean, you can see how it changes just by a simple color calibration. Wow. It even looks like I adjusted the exposure, which I did not. Oh, there's a little bit of clipping right there, but that's fine. But look at that. What a difference. What a difference. I need to adjust the exposure for that one. I already did a little bit of exposure adjustment on that one. But look at that. Look at the greens in the tree, or the leaves in the background, and how here it just looks like mud. And how the little monkey just stands out. Look at that. Just by a simple profile calibration. Look at that. Expose, I can fix that later. It's pulling out. Look at that. You can actually see how it is a ceramic, and here it has a glassy look to it. Look at the blues here and how it's gone with the corrected image. Excellent, excellent. Let's see. Oh yes, this series right here. I did a little bit of exposure adjustment, just a little bit, about close to half a stop. But look at the colors. Look how it rendered. I think it focused on this doll right here. Wow, look at that. This looks like plastic, and this looks like ceramic. You can actually see the details, the color transitions. Wow, what a difference. What a difference. Look at that. Alright, so this short video, it's just to show you guys the advantages of calibrating your images using a profile. Look at that. Look at that. What a difference. On the left side, it looks like there was a bad filter in front of the lens. What a difference. I did adjust the exposure a little bit on this one, but you can just tell that the colors are more punchy, and I already showed you guys this one. That's the one I started with. Amazing. Look at that. Amazing. Oh, it's just a test shot. But even here, you can see how it brings the natural colors more precisely. Very well. So guys, that's it for this series right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it serves as a inspiration to go out there and shoot. The Calibrite Passport, it's not expensive. You can find it on Amazon, and it's a great tool. Everybody should use it. I think it saves you time, improves the quality of your images, and eventually, at the end of the workflow, it makes it easier to print, and it creates better prints. Have a good one, guys. All right, here we are back to my office. Very well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you managed to see the differences between calibration and white balance adjustments, I hope this is useful in your workflow. If you are doing product photography, this is a must. Studio, I believe it's essential. You cannot, live without this kind of calibration, especially monitor calibration, if you are a professional. Because the worst thing you can do is to create images that are the wrong colors for the product for your client. When it comes even to amateur photography, if you can afford, if you can afford the card, which is it's not really expensive. It's $100 and so dollars. I can't remember the exact amount, but it's key. It's gonna make a huge difference in your image quality, consistency across shots. It's going to help even with sharpness, as we saw in some of the examples that I showed you guys today. So thank you so much. Stay tuned. The next video, we're going to go into creating panoramic shots in Lightroom. And then the final video of the photographer's workflow is going to be printing. So thank you so much. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.